Liam Payne from One Direction sadly passed away, and people are blaming his ex-girlfriend Maya for it, and I want to talk about it.
My book was coming out, even one of his friends was calling me and my mom being like, oh, this isn't a good time for him. I don't think you should put the book out. He's not doing well. And if something happens to him, not only are you going to blame yourself, but the whole world's going to blame you.
For those who don't know, Maya Henry is the ex of Liam Payne. Recently, she wrote a book about her experiences in her relationship with him. For this reason alone, people are saying she's the cause of what happened and why he decided not to be here anymore. And we'll get to that later because that's not even settled if that's really what happened. She's been bombarded with comments telling her that it's her fault, so much so that she's closed off her Instagram and TikTok comment sections. And the reason I wanted to talk about this is because it feels like it's fairly common. This also happened with Ariana Grande, and I'll get back to that in a second, but it's kind of weird to me. I'm not going to go over all the allegations against him because it's kind of disrespectful, rest in peace. And I think the first thing I want to say is that it's okay to grieve a person who's complicated, who isn't a perfect person, who might even have done some bad things in life. I've seen a lot of videos and a lot of TikToks and a lot of reels of women saying that they feel complicated or that they're betraying Maya because they're sad that Liam isn't here anymore. And I don't think that that's a bad thing. And I don't think that you're a bad person for grieving a person who was complicated and wasn't the best of person at all times. Grief is a complicated thing. We all feel it differently. We can, on one hand, love a person and then on the other hand, hate them for every bad thing that they did. Recently, I think the Mendendez brothers said that they still love their mother, even though all the terrible stuff she did to them. You're not a bad person for feeling a type of way about it. You're not a bad person for grieving someone or loving someone who's not here anymore. And the reason I think that that's important to say is because if you don't let people grieve bad people, they instead try to change the narrative around them and try to silence people who bring up the wrong things that they did in their life. So reflexively, I think a lot of people try to avoid that and try to downplay everything that happened so that they don't feel bad for grieving a person that they loved. That's a small part of it. And another part of it, I think, is grief. People are just mad and they want something to be mad at, which is understandable. And when people lose people, they blame God, they blame fate, they blame whatever, just to bring solace to them. I don't know. And I think this is more apparent when you think about Ariana Grande, and I'll get to her in a second. But it's not confirmed what really happened or why Liam did what he did. Nobody really knows. Everybody is just working under the theory that he did it because he was sad, that he was emotional, but it could have been entirely an accident. Nobody really knows what happened besides his friends that were there and the people that were around him at the moment. And also, I don't think that they should be blamed. It is kind of weird to immediately try to go and blame Maya and not the friends that are around him that could have stopped him. Again, not blaming them, but it's kind of weird. But the same thing happened with Ariana Grande, where people were immediately blaming her from what happened to Mac Miller, even though it wasn't her fault. Because originally the story was that Mac Miller OD'd, and that's the reason he wasn't here anymore, because he was depressed from losing Ariana Grande. And that's just not true. That's not what happened. But immediately after that happened, people immediately went to blaming Ariana Grande. And they didn't even wait for the facts to come out. It was like that he was poisoned. It wasn't because he was sad. Like, he would have been perfectly fine if he wasn't poisoned. And now everybody forgets that that was a narrative at the time, that they blamed Ariana Grande, but that was true. And that's one of the reasons I wanted to make this video, is because it's just deeply unnormal to me to immediately, when you lose someone, you immediately go to a woman who talked about or broke up with somebody and immediately put the blame at them. That's like very not normal to me. Even if you say the allegations played a part in it, it's not her responsibility. Secondly, she spared him. She didn't even release the worst details in her book, unless you think that she's completely lying, but I don't really think that's the case. I mean, she had proof enough to get a cease and desist. After all, she could have came out and said a lot worse things about him, but chose not to because she only wanted to reveal the parts that were relevant to the story that she was telling in her book. She wasn't doing it maliciously. She was spreading her truth in her story, and she could have done a lot worse. My point being, and I don't want to stay too long on this because it's toxic, but my point being is that if she really wanted to hurt him or be mean or be toxic to him, she could have. She didn't. She just wanted to share her story. But even if she was, that's still not right. Like, you are allowed to share what happened to you if it actually happened to you. Telling people that they own the responsibility of the actions of the people who they had a toxic relationship with is not really a healthy way or a healthy way to live in society even. And I don't think a lot of you would want to live that way, especially for yourself, where you had to think, oh, maybe this person might take it really badly if I come forward and tell my truth about something. I don't think you would want to live in that society. But again, it's the grief, it's the emotion, which are valid. It's just not valid to take it out on somebody who didn't really do anything wrong. Anyway, that's my take on it. I hope you enjoy the video. Click here for the next one. Have a great day. Peace.